wherever you sit in a business, there are ways to think about web push that will be applicable to you, but especially you talk about ad ops. We talk about this as this channel doesn't live in a vacuum, right? Like you're not doing 10 other, you're not doing email and paid subscription funnel and all of these other, conversion flows. And then separately you add web push in and it just lives over here by itself. The way that we view this is it should be integrated as a part of your overall strategy to both drive subscriptions to whatever digital flows you may have, ad revenue, et cetera. But ultimately, all of that comes from getting return visitors. So to take a full step back and talk about what exactly web push is, I always find it valuable to just set the stage. So we're talking about browser push notifications. I will alternate between web push, browser push, or just push notifications. But what I want to make sure everyone understands is that we're not talking about mobile app pushes. We're not talking about native app pushes. We're talking about ones that run directly through the browser. For the sake of this conversation, I'm going to speak specifically about Chrome, just because it's 90% of the market, really easy way to think about things. But what is important to keep in mind is the shorthand way to think about this is it runs on everything except for iPhone. iPhone is the only piece of tech that does not support web push right now. That's not a shortcoming of Pushly. That's because Apple has not opened up their mobile devices to web push itself yet. However, it does run on PC, Mac desktop, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer, you name it, Opera is there. So that's what we're talking about. And so everyone who's on the call has likely seen this out in the wild. They've seen this gray or white box. We have a debate about that at Pushly. It is a white box, I've been told, that they see this through one flow or another. And if they click the allow button, you can then send them content directly to their device. So I opt in on my desktop. And if I'm on Mac, it's going to show up in the top right corner when you decide to send content out to me. And on PC, it's going to show up in the bottom right-hand corner. The way to think about, how this displays for the user is it's just like an email alert. It's going to pop up in that notification center. It's going to let the user know there's something new. And if the user clicks on this, they'll go back and read the story. They don't need to be on your site in order to get this. Functionally, Chrome just needs to be running in the background, which if you know anything about Chrome, it's almost always running in the background. So that's what the experience is on desktop. On mobile, that opt-in flow is going to show up right in the middle of the screen, and you're going to be able to say allow or block. And if the user allows on mobile, then any content you send out will show up directly in their system tray, and they will be able to click on that and come back and read the story on your site. So this is what Pushly specializes in. This is the only channel we function in because we think that it is important. I made the joke about jack of all trades, master of none. Well, we consider ourselves, the masters of web push. We have solely focused on this for several years now. And we believe that the way that we've done it and the way we allow our partners to do it really allows you to get the most out of the channel. So as we talk to the market and we hear feedback from partners and potential partners, a lot of them think of web push in kind of what we call web push 1.0. So that is what we would consider the early iterations of web push, where it started, sites on the web started getting access to it. And then as they were gathering users, they were just sending every message to every person every time, functionally an open faucet, right? Mm-hmm. So engagement was down, attrition was up, user complaints were up. You're getting 1% click-through rates. Nobody's really blown away by the channel. It's not driving meaningful revenue, but it is eating up a lot of your time. So as we've grown over the last few years, what we've decided and what we've determined and proven out is that instead of 1.0, push needs to be personal. So we're talking about getting the right message in front of the right person at the ideal time and really leveraging that one-to-one direct engagement.
And that makes sense to me, right? Because I think I know, and again, if I've seen that notification, and I immediately I'm wary about what I'm going to get, right? If I sit there and say to CNN, yes, alert me, are they going to alert me about every bit of news or just the top news? Do I think of it that way? But I, who am a big Syracuse University fan, like if you're going to tell me I want on my phone, if any piece of news comes out, I want that, right? So I think that was in fact the kind of missing ingredient that you saw there, is people just abusing and just pushing this way too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I'll show you when we get into the platform here shortly, is that not only can we make sure that you're getting more news about Syracuse because of, maybe you've explicitly selected getting a Syracuse email newsletter, or you've checked that box on a preference page. Based on the way you behave on the site, we can also infer that you're interested in Syracuse news and that that's what you should be getting more of versus the constant barrage where everything's breaking news just because I have an article, therefore I must send it. So leveraging those kind of tools has led to, a 7x boost in interactions using more personal engagement tools versus the original way. So all of this to say that return visits lead to results, right? So as we look at the Pushly network, and people always ask, okay, what are the stats? So we see a 6.5% subscription rate across all verticals on our platform. That is produced because your account managers help you manage your opt-in flows, run A/B testing to find the most optimal flow, and a number of different things. And I'll show you what that looks like in the platform as well. On our network, the average user has 2 notification interactions per day, and those result in a 7% click-through rate overall average. And so you think about that, if you're running Web Push now and you're getting a 0.5, 2% subscription, or a 0.5 or 2% click-through rate, if you're able to come on board with us and boost that number up to 7%, even 5%, and for a lot of our partners, even higher than the 7%, that's a material change and a material difference in ROI for the channel. So what I think a lot of people also lose track of when they think about this is it's not just the initial click on the notification. It's not just the initiation of a session. It's that user comes to your site. And especially if you've brought them back to, let's say, we'll stick with the Rob Syracuse example. I've brought you back to a Syracuse news article. You read that. And then on the side panel, my content rec engine shows you another Syracuse article. So you go and read that. So we're not just bringing people back for single page view sessions. We're bringing them back for multiple page view sessions. And across the network, an average of about 1.9. So every click is multiple page views. To touch on kind of how we think about this and some of the kind of the 4 pillars of how we work is we leverage machine learning, also known as smart segmentation, also known as personalization engine. We call it a lot of things. It's really cool. I'm going to show you what it looks like. But basically what our system allows you to do is to target users with notifications based on what they do on your site, which notifications they engage with, and any first party data that you have. So that data feeds piece there is not just referencing, our ability to pass you reporting or your ability to, get into our system and pull stuff out. What you can actually do is leverage the data in your DMP or CDP and pass it to Pushly, and we can then allow you to target notifications based on that. So the easiest way to think about this is anything you know about me when I visit your site can be passed to Pushly and leveraged for targeting notifications. Email subscription status, favorite sports team, favorite celebrity, the cities I search for weather in, you name it, that can be passed to Pushly and leveraged to send more content out about what I'm browsing. When we talk about getting notifications out the door, this is all very fancy. It sounds very intense. It sounds really like it will drain a lot of resources. And that's where automation comes into this. So when you work with Pushly, we're basically going to manage our service for you so that we can ingest RSS feeds. You can hook up to our API. Any way that we can help you to more easily provide us content to then point to the right audience without you having to have editors constantly logging into the platform, we're going to do. Now, what's funny about that is a lot of our partners, when they start with us, they say, I want to do all automation because I don't want anybody in there. But then when we show them the platform and people use it a little bit, they say, wow, this is actually kind of cool. I like doing the A/B testing. I like doing, the playing around with the segments. So we ended up in kind of a hybrid model where they're automating their whole audience sends, but periodically somebody's jumping in to do some segmented sending and, A/B testing.
Makes sense.
All of that to say, we're going to work with you to optimize the workflow based on the resources you have. We're going to earn the resources that we end up getting because the audience will grow, the traffic will grow, and you're going to want to think a little bit more about this as you go because revenue is going to constantly be, growing along with it. So these are kind of the 4 pillars that guide us. So I actually have kind of a practical example, and we'll stick with this example throughout the call as we get into the platform itself. So when a user shows up to your site and they click the allow button to get notifications, Pushly is immediately going to begin allowing you to target them based on what content they're reading on your site, the notifications with which they interact, and how often they're coming to your site. So let's say you want to target somebody who hasn't been on the site for 14 days, hasn't been on the site for 30 days, or maybe you want to target people who've come back once, in the last 7 days, and you want to bring them back for an additional visit. You can do that. Coupling that out of the box, those out of the box factors with some of the other things, we can build a profile around this person. So let's say this person comes to our celebrity news site and they read about Chrissy Teigen. Now we're going to know they read about Chrissy Teigen because of the URLs they visit. We're also able to automatically grab the meta keywords of those articles. So everybody's got a CMS that they use to put content up on their site. Depending on how your site is structured and how you're tagging those articles, we can do one or both of those. We can do it based on URL or on meta keyword. Again, I'll show you what that looks like. So we know this person is interested in Chrissy Teigen. We know that they visit twice per week. We know they're a mobile user. We know that they have high engagement with reality TV. So where that kind of comes in is it's not just that they're interested in Chrissy Teigen. Maybe we also know that they read multiple articles a week about the Kardashians, Dancing with the Stars, you name it. So this person may be a high interest in Chrissy Teigen, but maybe medium interest in reality TV, and that can help dictate the frequency and makeup of the notifications they get. A really key one here is the fact that we would know they're an email subscriber. So when you think about Pushly and you think about this channel, and as I've said, it doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's not just about sending out content to get people back to read pages and click on ads potentially and drive additional revenue there. It can also be leveraged to drive conversion flows on other channels. So let's say you have 500,000 web push subscribers. And because you're flagging it for us, we know that a quarter of them are already email subscribers as well. You could do promotions via web push to just the people who have not yet become email subscribers to drive them down that funnel as well. So when you think about the ability to feed into other channels, you can do that and ultimately drive a higher ROI across the whole business as a result of leveraging Pushly. So all of that to say, lots of cool stuff. I'm going to show you everything in the platform, but really where this comes down to is how does Pushly drive value for my business? So I'm going to take a drink of water before I dive into this one.
That's good. Good for you to do that. And this is the part I want to get to, right? Because I don't think people have been doing this math, right? That's the part that I think that where the decision process around web push notification has been sitting it's probably in the right area. The editorial obviously has to be involved, and marketing, audience growth has to be involved. But you've been talking since we've started about revenue, which I love. So talk to me about kind of the math of this.
Yeah, for sure. So when you think about the practical aspects of using Pushly, yeah, at some point Dev will have to get involved to implement it and go live, right? Editorial or audience engagement will want to be involved because they own the pages. They need to be comfortable with what's going out in the user experience there. But ultimately, nobody should be doing anything at the business in these days without having some impact on revenue, right? Like that's ultimately what we want. So the math here helps you kind of understand the way that Pushly can drive additional revenue for your business. So let's say I run my celebrity news site and I have 20 million unique visitors per month. So on my site, every month, 20 million unique visitors. Based on our network and what we see across the board, Pushly can say with confidence that in 12 months, you're going to have 3 million web push subscribers. So when you have 3 million web push subscribers in 12 months, we know based on our network average, you're going to see a 7% CTR. So every time users see that, that's a click to impression rate right there. So the click-through rates are 7%. That means I talked about initiating sessions. That means that we can feel confident in saying that in 12 months, we're going to drive 188 million sessions via the Pushly channel. So we take that and use our page depth average, how many pages people are viewing. So we can say within 12 months, Pushly can drive 339 million page views for a site with 20 million unique visitors if they leverage our channel, leverage our tools, work with their account manager. And based on that, let's say you have a $10 RPM, we can generate $3.4 million in additional revenue just from our channel. Now, what's important to think about here is your RPMs for the folks who are watching this recording or on the webinar, RPMs may be higher, they may be lower, but what's important is that our team is happy to work with you to get a sense of what our impact is, because we are very comfortable using our calculations, using our network averages to walk you through this calculator and say, okay, maybe you under or overperform the CTR. We can help map out that revenue for you. But what's really great is all of our account managers are experts at driving towards this 7% CTR, driving towards these page view and session goals to help you get the most out of this audience, regardless of what your RPM is. So
Well,
anybody watching, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that that's part of the strategy, is to even goose these numbers further, right? So in other words, if I know that I'm getting traffic because of a web push, I can even design the page, to either to drive them to additional page views, right? To even, again, try to do more alerts that lead them to seeing pages with video content on it, which gets me a higher RPM, right? So there's a lot of things you can suddenly do that isn't just, let's hit people up with notifications. It's very much a tactical, let's drive toward this kind of, I mean, again, even the idea of having a new section that you need to boost up or whatever, work it through. You might take some time to get there, but you can sit there and do this kind of math to get those numbers to make sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, anybody on the call who's interested or watching the video who's interested in getting this kind of done for them and they want to know kind of how the math works and to walk through a more thorough version of this, just reach out to us, and one of our biz dev folks will hop on and walk you through the projections based on your numbers. So happy to do that.